to make her FT debut. Suzyn, it's so great to have you on. Yeah, let's clap it up. And Fraze, this is you, man.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Now, if you think you had a bad connection with Raul, where do you see this in this hotel that I'm sitting in the middle of the highway in Tampa? So God only knows what's going to happen here. By the way, Scott, do you know, sitting with you, well, not with you, are two of the top 5 huggers in all of baseball. 2 of them.
It's not AJ.
No, it's
not me.
It's not AJ.
Listen, dude, I was Dude, I'm not hugging someone in the clubhouse. I mean, Todd and Kraft, they're Yankee legends.
Sorry. No. And well, AJ was not. You were not warm and fuzzy when you were.
Suzyn, that's because when I played against the Yankees, they always kicked our asses. So what am I supposed to be excited?
I love
we
that.
just got our asses kicked
No, wait a minute. When I first met you, you were in Chicago, and there was a backup catcher. And Chicago was kind of an odd place to go in that clubhouse anyway. It was kind of weird stuff going on. Excuse my wonderful background. There's my refrigerator, and there's my coffee pot. This is great. Anyway, I was talking to the backup catcher because I knew he wouldn't yell at me. And you came over, and you were making all kinds of noises into my microphone, so I couldn't use the.
No chance.
Wow.
I would never. Now that. See, now we're gonna have. This is not the first time I've called someone a liar. I probably didn't do that, but I might have done that.
Yeah, you did.
Wait, you were talking. Who was it? Widger? Was it Chris Widger? It had to be Chris Widger.
Yes, that's exactly who it was.
Another Yankee legend, Chris Widger.
Wow.
Well, I've got all kinds of Yankee legends here. By the way, the top few huggers in baseball: Todd Frazier's number 1. Number 1A is Carlos Pena. Number 2 is Eric Kratz. Number 3 is the guy you had on before, Raul Ibanez. But maybe the top of all time is Shelley Duncan, who is now the AAA manager of Columbus. So there we go, just so you know.
Suze, I got to be honest with you. Just seeing your face, every time I see you, you make me smile. You're the best. I appreciate that comment. I appreciate you talking about AJ, the realness of who AJ really is now. Just adding fuel to the fire.
Do you know, AJ, you did a really nice thing, though, years ago when you were with the Red Sox. I was covering that game with Michael Pineda with the pine tar, which never should have happened. And I hear you were really nice to him. So I know that story.
Suzyn, thank you. That was a horrible situation for everybody involved, including us on the Red Sox.
I know.
Because we were like, we don't want to say anything, but John Farrell's like, we got to say something. Like, everyone kind of was doing it, but I mean, when you have like a pine tar glob like this on your neck, after the Post, or the New York Times and the Post, the game before he pitched, his whole hand was covered in it, and they had a picture of it like this. And then the next time he had it on his neck, and it was just a terrible situation.
It started someplace else, and he couldn't get to it. And I remember afterwards finding out what you guys tried to do. And I remember afterwards in the clubhouse, and I've never told this, but he knows I know it. I said, didn't you know that you were going to get suspended if they caught you? And if you remember, it was right after Big Papi was up. And it was really cold that day in Fenway, and Pineda had tears in his eyes. And he said, I just didn't want to hurt him. He didn't know where the ball was going, and he didn't want to hit David Ortiz. And that to me was the whole thing. I mean, he wasn't trying to he just wanted to control it. He didn't want to hurt anybody. And AJ, you were really nice to him. So that makes up for you.
Suzyn, excuse me. F off, Todd.
All right, listen. Suze, forget about everything else. Broadcasting now. How's it going? I know you could talk a little bit. Now, you have to pick up the speed now because the pace of game? Talk to me about that.
I have no idea. We just got here. We all had budget cuts, too. I just arrived last night. I'll find out tomorrow. You can turn in WFAN tomorrow when we're in Lakeland with no monitors and see what happens. You know what it is? I know you're supposed to pick up the speed. This is going to be the game that I grew up with. You know, you used to be able to go to a doubleheader on Sunday afternoon and be home by dinner time. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. The problem that they're going to have is selling spots because I'm not going to have any time to put them in. And that's the whole thing. But I think it's going to work out fine and everybody will get used to it. Look, it took a long time for baseball to get to the point where they had to do something. I mean, if everybody hadn't really for the last 25 years decided they have to have, or 30 years, they have to have this walk-up music, and they have to think about this, and they have to have 72 different signs, and you have to do all these things, none of this would have happened. And then you have to do it. So now we're going back to the way it used to be, and it's not a terrible thing. And maybe people will actually, sit through a game every single game. It's really hard to give up 4 hours of your life the way the world is right now. So I think it's going to work out fine.
Talking about AJ being that guy in the clubhouse for you, can you tell us like how the whole Jesse Barfield, really helped in your, like, that story to me is, I don't want to say groundbreaking because you're the groundbreaking person, but like how that not only it affected your career, because we know it was such a positive moment for you in a negative moment, but also how, like, has baseball come far enough? Do we need to change more? Have we come fast enough?
Well, you're answering your own questions, but I'll tell that story for anybody who doesn't know. I started in 1987, and I got to tell you, everybody talks about the players. This story, players, it's very public, so it gets a lot of ink. I could have handled the players by myself. It was your colleagues who thought you were taking a job away from a real reporter. It was the people that gave the assignments. We can't have a girl do this. It was the fans, a lot of them. It wasn't necessarily the players. But in 87, I had just started, and I sat in that press box for a solid year, and nobody talked to me. It was nobody at all. The players were fine because Don Mattingly was there, and no one's going to do anything with Mattingly in there. But Toronto was tough. Toronto was a tough clubhouse in 87. And what I used to do, Eric, and I used to look at media guides back then, and I'd look to see where someone went to school. And I looked in that Toronto media guide, and there was Jeff Musselman. And I said, okay, he went to Harvard. He's not going to yell at me. John Cerruti, our dear John Cerruti, he went to Amherst. We both have degrees in economics. He's not going to yell at me. I'll go talk to them. And I was in there, and I was indeed talking to them. And George Bell, the outfielder, was going to talk to the New York press. Now, he hadn't talked to the press all year because he thought that the New York press had cost him the MVP because they all voted for Mattingly the year before. So I started to go over to George Bell, and he started yelling and screaming and in Spanish and English and get her out of here, and I'm not talking to you. And, the writers didn't want to miss Albert Schweitzer talking. So they all just stood there and stared at me. And back in those days, I didn't handle things the way I do now, and I could feel my eyes welling up with tears. And I said, oh, God, just let me get out of here before I start to cry. And I started to go to the door, and it was dead silence in there. It was just awful. And all of a sudden I hear, what's her name? And one of the writers said, I don't know, it's Suzyn something. And I hear Suzyn. And I turned around, and it was Jesse Barfield. And he said, I went 3 for 4 today. Don't you want to talk to me? And I did. And then everybody came over because meanwhile, George Bell was still yelling on the other side of the clubhouse, and they never did get to talk to him. And Jesse said, no, I'm talking to her. You go wait for George Bell. And it was just, it was the kindest moment. There were a couple more. Dave Winfield had one. But he didn't know me. I never saw him before. He didn't know me. It was the kindest thing that's ever happened. And Jesse Barfield and his family, we've been friends for 35 years. And it was an extraordinary thing to do back then, going against your own player. And Jesse told me much later that George Bell didn't talk to him for weeks after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really
cool.
So
imagine my delight when he was traded to the New York Yankees a year and a half later. So that was it was terrific. Now, to answer your other questions, no, it has not come far enough. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think it all starts, and I know everybody says, you broke this barrier and you broke this barrier. I never got to do what I wanted to do. Because and you guys don't remember, but when I first did a television game in the 90s, I had to be very careful what I said. For example, Paul O'Neill came, and I knew that Paul O'Neill's hitting depended on the timing of his leg kick. And if it was too high, he was behind, and if it was too quick, he was in front of the ball, and it didn't work. And the first time I said that on the air, I had the producer in my ear saying, "You can't say that." I said, "What do you mean I can't say that?" And he said, "You don't know that. You're not playing." And I said, "I can see it." And he said, "No, you have to say, I was talking to hitting coach Rick Down, and he told me that in order for Paul O'Neill to be perfectly balanced, he has to do that." And I'd say, "What are you talking about? I can see it. I mean, we're not transplanting a kidney here." And so for a long time, I had to do that. And by the time I caught up to when I could actually say what I wanted to say, it was really, age-wise and everything, too late for me to do what I wanted to do. But I'm glad that nobody has those restraints anymore. I mean, Jessica Mendoza can get on the air and say, blah, 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 and nobody says a word. But back then, you couldn't do it. It was just very odd.
That is bullshit. Yeah, that's
you think?
back then. Yeah, that is bullshit. Yeah.
But that was, you know what, Scott? And here's the thing, and I understand it. I mean, you guys are too young and you don't know. You know that in '89, I had my own police detail for a solid year that George Steinbrenner put there because someone was trying to kill me. I mean, because it was a different world, and it seems like it's happened fast because every time you open the door now, there's another woman doing something. It's not. It's really not. It's 5 minutes ago when an all-star said to me, "Get the blank away from me, you blanking radio scum blank." I mean, I can still see him. Big time guy. So it's not, I'm just kidding with you with AJ about that's the least of it. With you noises into the microphone.
Suzyn,
but
I'm going to make sure that when I see you next time that I give you the biggest hug.
Okay.
And that I don't know how else I can. Maybe I'll bring you flowers or something. I don't know.
That would be nice.
I'm going to make up for those noises because every time I see you, we have the greatest conversation. So like I have nothing.
Well, you do now. You did. We do now. Since there's. Players can be who they want to be in the clubhouse. That's your place. And, you just because you didn't know who I was, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's a lot of that. It doesn't matter. You're supposed to, that's why I've always said to a lot of people.
This hurts me. No, because,
wait, why?
Because I always took pride in being there and answering the questions.
You answered, but I wasn't one of the Chicago writers, so you didn't owe me anything. No, you always answered. Catchers are the best, actually. Just ask Eric Kratz.
That's why they're on this show. I mean, we got multiple catchers on this show. It's not for their hair.
I think I might cry now, man.
Oh,
yeah, but AJ likes. You're on this show too because you like kind of giving people shit and being kind of different.
I always tried to not do it to reporters. Unless I knew him well, and I didn't know Suzyn. So that kind of, it was probably meant more toward, it definitely wasn't personal for Suzyn. So I hope she understood, like there was no.
I do understand that. I understand
that. It was more probably meant to Widger because Widger had just played for the Yankees. So it was probably more of me making fun of him.
Okay, I'll go with that.
All the New York media was piled around Widger, right? And I'm like, Chris, you played like 40 games for the Yankees.
Yes, you did. That's exactly what you said.
See, now that would make more sense.
But then you stood there and listened and you made noises. It's all right. It's fine.
I apologize, Suzyn. I totally apologize. I take it all back. You're welcome.
The guy that called me a radio blank never apologized.
I would never call you that. I promise you. I would never call anybody that.
Hey, Suz, once a Yankee, always a Yankee. You know how it goes.
Yes, sir.
My question to you is, let's get into Yankees a little bit. Aaron Judge had that unbelievable year last year, broke the home run record, and now he bet on himself. I thought that was unbelievable. It was something that, I don't know if I'd be able to do that or most players in baseball be able to do that, and that made probably excess of over $100 million more dollars. Man, what do you think of him, and how do you think he's going to do this year coming up, especially after that awesome year he had?
I worry a little bit. To go back to what you said about betting on yourself, I've never been so excited for somebody to do that because I did tell him before the season started, when I knew that was going to happen. Some of us have undersold ourselves for a very long time because we want the job so badly that, yeah, I'll take that. Okay, fine. He didn't do that. And just think what kind of an extraordinary person that is. And he never changed. I did see him towards the end of the year as the home run race was going on. I saw him start to do a little thing differently, tried to keep everything the same, but it's really hard to do. I give him so much credit, Todd. I have no idea how Roger Maris, I was around when Roger Maris did that. And I know that I was a kid, but I do remember that. And I remember the stories about his hair falling out and him. And there were only 7 or 8 writers that followed him around then. And it was very, very tough. And, the way he kept things together, very much like Jeter, he's the same person that he is now that when he walked in the door, very, not sure of himself, but he knows who he is. That doesn't mean he's confident all the time, but he knows who he is. I thought that was one of the most remarkable things I'd ever seen. And boy, it really, I'll tear up now. When Roger Maris Jr. showed up, it was just extraordinary. How he's going to do? Is he going to hit 70 home runs? I don't know. Does he have to? All he has to do now is be the leader that he has been since he's walked in the door. But now he can do it not so quietly, although he is very quiet about it. And he leads by example mostly. You always see him, you saw him, he's always standing in the corner talking with somebody, but very quietly and away from people so they wouldn't know. It was a remarkable year, but it would be really nice if other people on the team decided that they could take some of the burden off of him, because without Aaron Judge, they don't get where they go. I mean, and it was an embarrassment, I think, with Houston. But without Aaron Judge, they didn't do anything, and they shut him down totally. And that was your offense, and that can't be the same this year.
Yeah, he really carried the team down the stretch. I mean, the team crumbled on offense,
Yep.
And he was a true MVP in that fashion. It wasn't just 62 home runs for fun. It was, we need just about all of those to win these ball games and hold off other teams in the division. Here's the problem I have, Suzyn, and I'm all about fans in the Northeast getting after it, having a good time. I can say this too. I'm a Jersey guy, grew up around mostly Yankee fans. The one problem I have is boo all you want, especially even if it's a big player, regular season. The problem I have is in the playoffs, we're not too many games in. This dude had one of the best seasons of all time, and he's getting booed. We're on a show with a bunch of players. I know that's going to grind most people's gears and piss them off a little bit. And for some, that doesn't motivate them. That can hurt them. So I just think sometimes a fan base can actually hurt their own player. Did you feel that way at all in the playoffs? Not that he was going to suddenly go, screw them, I'm signing with the Padres, they offered me more money. But I just thought, like, that was a little classless for me. And I know that players have to be careful. Oh, they can do whatever they want. But I'm like, no, screw that. Like, what did I just do for you? You're booing me after 3 games?
No, and he'd never say out loud what it really felt like. I've never liked booing. I don't like it at all. But Jeff Nelson years ago, when he walked in the door, said to me, and this is 96, I guess, and he blew something and they booed him. And about 2 days later, he said to me, I get it. They aren't booing me. They're booing the performance. And you have to get that when you play here. I don't like it. I've never liked booed, and it does hurt a lot of people. There are people on this team, they're either not here anymore or maybe they won't be here soon, that it actually can bother. I've only heard 2 players never booed. In all the years I've been here, the only people I've never heard booed were Bernie Williams and Jorge Posada. And I've got reasons that I think for that. But whether it bothered Judge, he said he understood it, and that's the line. Because everybody goes, the first person who had to answer that question really was Andy Pettitte. And somebody said, how did you feel about getting booed? And this was 1996, I think, also. And he said, well, I would have booed me too. I was terrible. And that stops the questioning, and it stops it altogether. And you have to learn how to handle that. That's part of it that I don't like. But Aaron Judge, there's nothing he obviously cannot handle. We've seen it all of last year.
I was never booed, Suzyn, so let's just get that straight. Okay?
I know.
I only had 2 at-bats.
Sorry.
I only had 2 at bats, and then in 2020 there's no fans, so I was never booed. So,
but you may, yeah.
No, go ahead. I want you to praise me, and then I'll go ahead.
No, now were you the Yankee or were you with Cleveland when you hit that home run? Wait a minute, I'm trying to remember. We were talking about your home run. You had a home run.
No, that wasn't with the Yankees. I was on the Yankees when we were talking about it, but no.
Oh,
no.
Okay. Was that Cleveland? Okay.
That was Milwaukee.
Milwaukee
is when we were talking about it.
That's right. Yes, that's true.
I hit the home run when I was with the Giants against the Yankees. Anyway, enough about me, Suzyn. This is why you're here. Question that I need to know. Are we going to be able to follow you and Meredith on some social media like adventure again, like Niagara Falls, like you girlies did?
I certainly hope so. You didn't see us when we got dressed up in Milwaukee in the hot dog suits?
You did the sausage race, but like this summer, like what is coming up? This is an advertisement for what we're going to watch.
I don't know. Let's see. It depends on where we're going. Let's see. I think
everywhere.
We are going everywhere. Well, give me some examples. What can we do? We're going to Colorado. What should we do in Colorado, for example? What should we do in...
Well, I don't think Colorado's a good state. I don't know if we can talk about what you can do in Colorado in every state. So let's go with...
All right, well, wait. Next week, Meredith's trying to get me to go out on a fishing boat in the ocean and catch big fish or something. Listen, yes. I'm from Boston. I don't know anything about fish except you get lobster in the summer. But I'll do that. Should we do that? Put that on Instagram?
Let's see a live feed of you and Meredith pulling in some big. What do they got out there? What do they got down there? Some snook? I don't know what they got.
I don't know. They got grouper. I don't know.
Snook, grouper, right? Redfish.
Yeah.
We got all kinds of stuff in Florida. Try it one time, Kratz. We got lots of good fish down here.
Out in Tampa. I love fish. I love eating fish. I don't need to go out fishing.
Yeah, I don't either.
Suzyn, I got an idea. When you go to Atlanta, you guys can race the freeze.
Can do what? Oh,
race
yeah,
the
guy in
beat
Atlanta.
The freeze.
Yeah, the guy who runs, beat the freeze.
Yeah, but like trip him, do something because
Yeah.
the dude's so fast and he embarrasses everyone. Like you should put him in a headlock and be like, "Go, Meredith, go."
And then Meredith, yeah.
Oh, so I'm the one that's going to do the headlock and Meredith is going to do the running.
Yes.
Well, no, vice versa. But Suzyn, you're tough. You know, you can take him.
I could probably figure something out. We could do that. Atlanta. That's the one park I think I have never been. I've never been actually to that one. And the new park in Texas. I wasn't there either. So other than that, it's well, if you can think of ideas, you could let me know.
Crap,
is that your own batting cage? Is that your own batting cage?
Yes,
Todd?
yes. I got my own little cage. I made it for my son. Well, both my kids and my daughter, but I should have did it back in the day for myself. I'd still be playing right now, Sue. So it was a big mistake on my part.
Suzyn, thank you so much for joining us. Just a one-sentence finisher for Yankee fans. Are they winning it all this year?
Is Houston leaving the league?
Nope. There's your answer.
Wow.
Boom. That is a mic drop right there. Hey, you're right.
You never know. That's why we're going to play all these games, though, right?
That's right. Yeah, right. And hey, injuries happen, the whole deal. But Suzyn, this was awesome. These guys were very excited to have you on and well worth the wait. So thank you for joining us out there and have fun at Yanks camp and good luck with the games speeding by.
We're going to try. And if there's a problem, I can call you guys at any moment to come on and fill time, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
You have all of our numbers. You got it.
Thank you.